Hey there, my name is Barry Rapkin. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Identified Technologies, and it's my pleasure to speak with you today about drone mapping and what drones can do for you. So the agenda for today is we're going to go over the basics that everybody should know about drones. We're going to talk about how drones are benefiting your specific industry, how drones are putting an end to late and over budget projects. Going to do a special limited time offer just for live attendees. And we'll open it up for audience Q&A. If you have any questions throughout, feel free to enter them at any time, and I'll be happy to address them. First off, I want to talk about what drones are, where they came from, and why they're suddenly so popular. So we've had remote control planes and helicopters for decades. So why is there this sudden surge of interest in drones over the last few years? Well, it's because this was the common RC plane and helicopter user experience. You might have fun with it. It could be made of balsa wood or paper or cardboard. Fly it around with its little plastic propellers for a few minutes or maybe a few hours, and pretty quick, a gust of wind hits it, and you take a wrong turn, the things come crashing down, shatters. It's not reliable, it's not robust, you can't do anything functional with it, and it's really a toy, not a tool. So what changed? Why is there this sudden massive interest in drones today? Well, it's a combination of government and private sector innovation. We have flight controllers from NASA, miniaturized GPS, originally funded by the US Navy, the same types of miniaturized sensors, accelerometers, and gyroscopes that many of us have in our smartphones, or if anyone has a Nintendo Wii or their kids do, that same technology. Digital cameras with high-resolution content, and advances in model aircrafts, along with progress in battery life and miniaturization, all combined give modern drones the capabilities that we now enjoy. And a lot of people ask, all right, cool, what kind of drone do I need? What's the best drone? And the right drone really depends on your specific goals. That could be a $100 million global hawk from Northrop Grumman that can fly over 350 miles an hour and weighs almost 32,000 pounds, or it could be a $1,000 Phantom Vision from DJI, one of the leading drone manufacturers, for just, if you just want to snap some photos, capture some video, that's probably going to be the tool for you. And then there's everything in between. So to know the right drone, it's really hyper-specific towards your exact business goals. And we have a whole separate webinar just about that, on what's the right drone for me, a buyer's guide. And it all comes down to what your strategic goals are. So feel free, if that's something you're super interested in, go to identifiedtech.com later and check out the buyer's guide for what kind of drone you need. And if you have any specific questions, feel free to enter them at any time, and I'm happy to address them. We're seeing early applications for drones in things like real estate, sports, movies, TV commercials, and even deliveries. In a lot of these cases, previously the only way to get these shots and these angles were actually to send up a helicopter or a plane. And huge expense. They're paying the pilot, they're paying for the jet fuel, they're paying for the helicopter rental, they're paying for the transportation costs to get it out there, when all they really cared about was getting a sensor in the air that could get that particular angle. So now all of a sudden, they're able to capture that much, much more affordably, much more efficiently, and do it on demand with a lot less logistical trouble. In terms of deliveries, kind of the same deal. Right now, the FedEx or UPS driver has to physically come to your door, walk the package up, drop it off, and all that. It all has to be done by hand, very manually, and very inefficiently, because you're physically bringing this many thousand-pound truck to each house. But what if, you buy a DVD, you buy a book, and you can just have it automatically delivered to your doorstep? So some pretty exciting new potential for drones that we're seeing today. I should mention it's a convenience and efficiency to get things like Amazon drone delivery, but it can actually be a matter of life or death in certain situations. In a lot of third world countries, there aren't good roads. It's a logistical nightmare to get something like medication to, let's say, a sick person in a village that may be literally hundreds of miles away from the nearest road. And modern drones are making that possible for the first time. To go into how drones are benefiting your specific industry, I want to go through a few of the more common industries that drones are being used for commercially. So that's mining, where they're being used to measure stockpiles, measure earth-moving progress, check for potential safety issues, track not only earth-moving progress in terms of where you are today, but where you were last month, and what your trends are, what opportunities you have for efficiency, not just for earth moving, but for blasting, and to get near real-time updates on inventory. For construction, you also get the same insights on earth moving. You can do more informed estimations, build catalogs over time for reference with customers, compare as-built versus as planned to make sure that the actual project is proceeding as planned, and many, many more things that we'll go into over the course of this presentation. For oil and gas, you're seeing them used very heavily for right-of-way maintenance. You have to be checking by pipelines to make sure that there aren't vehicles left by it, that there aren't obvious signs of wear and tear or damage. And a lot of these inspections can now be done via drone much more efficiently, as well as doing things like inspecting well pads and impoundment ponds. For agriculture, drones can be great to get an overhead view of what areas need more water, more pesticide, more nutrients. For landfills, they're being used to not only for the initial construction of the landfill, but to track the cell over time and make sure that that airspace is used optimally, that you're filling it up to the maximum, so there's no wasted opportunity, but you're not exceeding it to cause potential safety issues, environmental damage, or fines. And then for mapping and surveying, drones are a tool that surveyors can use to capture more data more safely and more quickly. So a lot of the same work that they were doing today, they can just cover more ground faster and without putting themselves at risk. So the question that we're really addressing in our case study is, why do so many projects run late or over budget? And the reason is, every single day, project managers are asked to do the impossible. They go to war with a mountain of paperwork. They have to communicate to their contractors, leadership, customers, all while having perfect visibility to every change on every massive job site, all simultaneously. I know I have some watching, and you know it's an impossible job. You can't be 3 places at once, and sometimes something has to give. I've been on some of these sites where it's 500, 1,000 acres. You have rapidly changing contractors, equipment, and building projects, and primarily, sites are still managed the same way today that were 20 years ago, where construction is done off of rolled up paper blueprints. Managers have to physically drive and walk the site with clipboards, taking notes and pictures, and all the stakeholders have to physically visit the job site, even if they live across the country or across the world, to check on the progress. The reason aerial overhead data has only been rarely captured up until this point is traditionally you had these large costs and delays. Just like we talked with getting movie footage, you have to actually get the pilot, get the helicopter or plane, pay for the jet fuel, get them out to your site, maybe thousands or at least hundreds of miles away from their destination, and a massive lead time. So all of those really made it impractical up until this point. And not having that data has led to a few different problems, because no matter how good you are, no matter how experienced or hardworking you are, it's fundamentally impossible to make fast, informed decisions without consistent site visibility. That leads to a few problems. It leads to inefficiency, because expensive contractors and rental equipment often go unused due to bottlenecks that could have been prevented with better information. It goes to project delays, because you're waiting for customers to get out to the site to approve portions of work and release funds for the next section. It's easy for, every time you have to wait for the developer or the client to come out to the site to approve it. Maybe that's 1 week, 2 weeks every time. That can easily make the project several months late. It leads to low profits, because when projects go over budget, it comes directly out of the construction company's profits. And unfortunately, it can lead to lost customers, because customers who experience disappointments on their projects may not use you again, may stop mid-project, or in some cases may even file lawsuits. So, how do mapping drones fit into this? What are some of the benefits of mapping drones? Well, they give you job site visibility. The data is accurate. It's automatic. You literally push a button and the drone will capture all the data for you. It's near real time. Instead of waiting a month to get your pilot out to the site, they finally fly it and then it's a month or two to process it before you actually get your data back. You're getting your data, instead of months to capture it, it's minutes, and you'll usually have it processed and ready for analysis within a few hours. And it's completely secure, so you can share it with your subcontractors, with your leadership, and with customers. In terms of who am I and who are we, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Identified Technologies. We have a fully managed drone solution that improves job site transparency and profitability. We're trusted by ENR 400 industry leaders in energy, construction, excavation, mining, and engineering. They use us because outdated methods are slow, inaccurate, dangerous, and costly. We're world's only automatic end-to-end drone-as-a-service solution. That means it's completely integrated, everything from flight planning to the drone itself to the processing, storage, analysis. All the tools seamlessly interact perfectly together, and we're there every step of the way to help make sure you have a great experience. And we are proudly headquartered in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with clients around the world. We work with companies like Kokosing, Seneca Resources, EQT, PJ Dick, just to name a few, and most recently signed with Vulcan, who we're very happy to serve, Vulcan Materials, and Casella and Carmuse. We've been featured by Inc., CNN, NBC, and most recently Construction Executive and Construction Business Owner. And if anyone watching is going to be at ConAg, we're actually going to be in Vegas next week. So we would love if you could stop by our booth. It's, I believe, 70202, and or see us in the Tech Experience. We'll have a booth there as well. And you can see our technology in action. A lot of people underestimate the power of drones. They think, oh, okay, cool, I can snap some photos, I can get some video. But it goes way beyond that. You can actually automate advanced mapping and tracking. So you can do 3D volumetric analysis for stockpiles or earth moving. You can do contour mapping, orthomosaic overlays. You can do as-planned versus as-built comparisons to make sure that all the construction is proceeding as originally planned. You can monitor progress reports and cut and fill tracking with heat maps and downloadable CSVs, and you can securely share and export in all major file formats. So how do mapping drones compare to alternatives? Well, we talked about getting a plane or helicopter. Might be 15 or 20 grand. Usually a few weeks to book the job. The data is quickly collected in a few hours when they come out, and then have to wait maybe 1 to 2 months to get the data processed. So you're looking at around 12 weeks from when you first want the survey till you get your usable data back. With a manned survey team, most we talk to charge around $1,000 a day for a 2-man team. They'll get out to the site more quickly, usually within a week of when you request it, but it takes them longer to gather it because it's being done by hand on the ground, and it takes time to process. So still you're looking at around 2 months to get your data back. And the problem is, if you are on a well-run, fast-moving job site, the data that you was accurate when it was collected 2 months ago is no longer accurate when you get it 2 months later, because the job site's changed, because you've made progress. It'd be like if you looked at your earnings statement for last year and use that to assume you know where you are this year. Things change, and hopefully things progress. So what's different about a subscription drone service like ours is you can collect your data as often as you want. It can be monthly, weekly, daily, hourly. There's no additional cost per update. It's unlimited updates. And the data gathering time for 100-acre site is around 9 or 10 minutes, and the data processing time is a few hours. So again, instead of the data coming back to you 2-3 months later, you're getting it within hours to make fast, informed decisions. There is one other option. Maybe you don't want to do helicopters, you don't want to do ground surveys, and you don't want to use a fully managed drone solution like ours. You want to do it in-house. Here are the steps that you'll need to follow if you want to build your own drone solution internally. So you have to do FAA regulation and follow all the policies. The FAA recently filed a $1.9 million lawsuit against Skypan for failing to follow their regulations and licensing to do commercial drone work. You'll need to find, train, enlist drone pilots. You'll need to build out your own software, hardware, the drone itself, flight planning, data processing, storage, and management for the solution. These aren't small files, so you need an easy way to share 3 or 5 gigabyte files each time that you're using this with your team. You'll need to either take on the risk of it or get insurance, and if there is a crash or mistake, that can easily be $50,000 for the drone per crash, even if no one's injured. Once you have your drone, here's the standard drone mapping process. You'll need a KML with a map perimeter. That's basically just a Google map showing the targeted area that you want to cover. You'll need to lay ground control points, create and upload your flight plan, fly the drone, geotag the data, transfer the data, process the data, store and manage the data, and then at that point you can finally analyze the data and collaborate with your team. With identified technologies, we've automated every step possible so you can just get right to the insights you want. You choose your flight plan. The drone, at the push of a button, will automatically fly and capture the data, and then the data is automatically processed, and you can access and analyze your job site. So let's get to the meat of our content today, which is how you can use drones to put an end to late and over-budget projects. So Kokosin is one of the largest family-owned construction companies in the Midwest. Their primary business lines include heavy industrial, transportation, buildings, pipeline, environmental, and marine work. They enlisted us to help them do aerial mapping of 2 500-acre sites in Elkhorn City, Kentucky, using a boomerang drone system as part of 2 highway projects for the Kentucky Department of Transportation. And that involved cutting through 5 mountains and using the rock excavation for fills. It was a total of 33 million cubic yards of earth moved throughout these projects. And I actually went out to this job site. It blew my mind. I mean, the scale of it, you can't even see from one end of the project to the other. And there were trucks with tires taller than I am. So, I mean, I can't exaggerate the scale of this. And for the project, as I said, there was 33 million cubic yards of earth moved. And it required both precise measurement and an accurate estimate of the amount of rock being removed. Because the mountainous terrain was difficult to traverse on foot with steep cliffs, the head surveyor, Bill Clifford, enlisted us. He said, we're already looking at drones for this particular project. He'd been using scanner technology to track between the mountains. And he said, identified technology system worked out great. We had our data back even faster than we expected. The peace of mind we had knowing our data was current and our project was on track was invaluable. This is a before and after overhead survey of the job site, so you can see the mountain and then the open highway for the pike after. And for the boomerang system, unlike LiDAR, you're able to generate photo-stitched video overlays that can also be shared with offsite team members. So we weren't just sharing sort of maps and graphics. There was actually a three-dimensional video that they could follow. And Bill Clifford said the boomerang system takes workers out of harm's way. You can just sit back safely and watch it work. For the results on the site, the system was deployed, everything was covered within a few hours, and then beyond the direct mapping savings versus alternatives, the boomerang system also reduced heavy equipment rental and labor costs by providing more timely, accurate, and shareable mapping data. So they were using a rock crusher to break down some of the mountains to perform grading, drainage, and rock channel protection along the new highway. It's such a remote area, and there's no opportunity to sell any extra rock, so any excess was wasted. Bill Clifford said, the boomerang helped us see how much rock we had, so we were able to double check quantities and confirm we had enough without making extra. So without updated mapping data, when we stockpile aggregate, we have to just guess at the actual volumes, not knowing if the ground underneath is level. With the updated topographical maps that the boomerang system provided, we knew exactly what our rock volumes were. We were able to keep overproduction costs way down, and I think any construction firm would see at least the same savings. He was also able to bring the data to the clients and directors off-site instead of physically bringing them out. Said often, if they're a VP of a big company, they're not going to make it out to every job site. So to save them that inconvenience and to be able to give them that visibility was invaluable. So instead of taking 2 or 3 months, the data was captured in a few hours. There was about $120,000 of cost deferred. For most companies, based on standard industry costs, it should be about an 86% reduction in your mapping expenses. No employees were put at risk on hazardous terrain, and they were able to securely share the data. So whether they get a ground survey or an aerial survey, they'd be looking at around $40,000 total for the project. For the rock crusher, they were paying about $10,000 a day. They're able to defer expenses worth about 60 grand, and they were able to bring the updates to clients and directors instead of sending them out to the site, including staffing costs, transportation costs, all in, saved about 20 grand. So regardless of which survey option, whether you were going to do a ground or an aerial, saved about $120,000 of deferred costs. So at the end of the day, there's a few main real values of drone mapping. Productivity tracking, so you can check inventory, track volumetric earthwork cut and fills, decrease contractor costs, decrease data collection time, estimate the need for contractors and equipment, compare cost per equipment rental unit. You can compare unit costs to make sure that if one contractor is charging you X per square yard of earth moved and another is charging Y, then easy solution. Or sorry, cubic yard. You can do quality control. You can get up-to-date maps from the start till the finish of the project. You can compare visual updates of as-built versus as-planned blueprints to avoid misunderstandings or mistakes. And you have digital job site documentation to minimize liability, so it doesn't turn into a he said, she said argument. And all this leads to better stakeholder collaboration, where you can make sure your contractors, your leadership, the client are all on the same page. You can instantly reveal and solve any site misunderstandings before it's too late. You retain more clients by helping them better understand your results. You differentiate yourself from competition as a technology leader. You can attract new clients by showing them aerial examples of past similar projects. They say a picture says 1,000 words, and you can say all day, oh yeah, we've done jobs just like that. But if you can actually show them the before and after map of the work you've done, a 3D model that they can interact with, it's much easier for them to see it, especially if your competitors don't. And you save clients travel time, which they appreciate. We recently spoke to an architecture firm based in Pittsburgh that was flying out every single week to the West Coast for a California job, and to not have to take that time and expense, and to be able to put those hours to actually doing design instead of just spending it on a plane goes a long, long way to improving efficiency. So if any of that sounds good, just want to take you real quickly through what our onboarding process looks like. To use commercial drones, you have to have someone on your team get the Part 107 certification. It's kind of like a learner's permit. You show up to a standardized testing center. You have 2 hours to take a multiple choice test. You have to get a 70%, which I believe is 42 questions. And it just shows that you understand what safe drone operations are. Even though you're not going to have to physically steer the drone by hand, you just press a button, you still have to know, don't fly it next to an airport, don't fly it in the middle of a crowded mob of people, don't fly it at night, and just sort of some normal common sense rules. We're going to help train you through that process, set you up for your test. Our chief pilot, VP of Aviation, John Little, has over 2 decades of experience in aviation and training. And he's built out full training materials. We're proud that we have a 100% success rate of every customer we've worked with to help get their 107. And that's going to maximize safe drone operations, your test scores and confidence, and minimize the time that you have to spend training, operational mistakes, and delays until drone mapping can begin. Once you start up, you'll have an initial conversation with our client success manager. She's going to understand what your business is, your goals, your success metrics, so we can build out a personalized roadmap and customize your onboarding process. We want to collect any necessary information, such as specific concerns, and we'll get you up to speed and ready to start collecting your data. We have training and educational materials, not just webinars, but training guides, best practices, workshops, and we can do screen shares and even come out to the site with you to help walk you through it. We have best-in-class support, and we have a full online support structure. So anything you want to work on, whether it's learning more about SiteIQ, which is our analytics tool, or you have new feature requests or whatever it is, it's going to be available for you 24/7. And then we're also going to check in with you quarterly to make sure that we're reviewing the results that you wanted versus the results you're getting, making sure you're getting everything out of it, about all the new features that we're rolling out every quarter, and that you have a chance to tell us if there's any new technology or benefits that you wished we offered, so we can build them into the system. One thing I didn't mention before that CTOs at least will appreciate is if you buy a normal drone today, in 2 years it's going to be obsolete. And part of our package, so you can avoid that technological obsolescence, is we keep updating you. So it's a subscription model, and whatever drone you get today, you're going to get a new cutting edge one basically usually at the end of the year. We just swap you out, so you're always using the best stuff, and we have a full team of engineers constantly improving the hardware and software. So likewise, you're always using the newest, most powerful equipment. So what's the true value of drone mapping? It's win more bids, track and increase profitability, improve quality assurance, and improve client satisfaction and retention. So with that, I want to thank you very, very much for your time.